Hello,
There he is.
how are you?
I am fine. So you needed a little extra time today, huh?
Yeah, I was just celebrating that the war is over.
Ah, yes. You mean the war between Argentina and Spain?
Yeah, were you watching it?
Watched a little bit of it. It
Yeah, me
was
too.
it was mixed emotions. I mean, I lived in Argentina. I like Argentina, but Malay and their pro-Zionist stance had me rooting for Spain.
Exactly. I think everyone. I did a tweet about it after Ben Gvir. So Netanyahu supported Argentina, then Ben Gvir did a video supporting Argentina. I think the support for Argentina just plummeted after that video.
Yeah, yeah. It's like
Even though I like Messi.
yes, those guys aren't political. But
Yeah, exactly.
unfortunately, the whole nationalistic element creeps in there.
Yeah, yeah. I like Milei. It's but his domestic policies. But when it comes to his support for Israel and Argentina's support for Israel, I think this is where we disagree. But in terms of the policies, domestic policies, I've interviewed him. I met his team. No, I think he's done a good job for the country. What do you think on his policies for the country domestically?
I'll wait a year and see. Having lived in, I lived in Argentina, 83, 84. Un desastre, as they say, un desastre.
Disaster, disaster.
Our Argentina just has, tilted from one disaster to another over the last 43 years.
Yeah, yeah.
So it is. I'll see. They did need to cut back the public sector. So Malay's been effective on that, but I'm not sure he's actually brought the kind of economic stability they need. It may be impossible.
Yeah. I hope he does. It's a beautiful country and incredible people. We have a lot of people
Yeah.
in my team from Argentina. What's funny is that we have
whereabouts in Argentina? Are
I
they all
don't know.
porteños?
I don't know. I have no idea. I know they're
Porteñ-
Argentinian because they started celebrating when Argentina won in our group, one of our groups
Yeah.
in my company. They started celebrating when Argentina won. So I realized they were fighting. I had people in Britain. One of my writers is British. One of my writers is Spanish, and one of my team members, two of them are Argentina. So they started battling it out in the group.
Yeah, I lived in Cordoba, second
Oh,
largest
nice.
city in Argentina.
All right. So, congratulations to Spain. Now, in terms of the war, it's not looking good at all. It was a bit concerning to me how many people today were talking about the possibility of a ground operation. All of them agree it's a ridiculous idea or ludicrous idea, but they're all worried about it.
Well, let's put it in perspective as an example. They're talking about maybe putting troops on Kemp's Island, right?
Casham Island, yeah.
Okay. Do you know how big that island is?
Yeah.
It's bigger than Okinawa.
Yeah.
During World War II, when the United States invaded Okinawa, how many troops did we have to invade Okinawa?
Tens and tens and tens.
190,000. Okay.
Jesus. Yeah.
All right. So we're going to attack an island with 150,000 people on it, with what, 5,000 soldiers, 2,000 soldiers? I mean, come on. It's just this kind of idiotic thinking is going to get a bunch of good American kids killed.
All right, let's go into the news, Larry. So we have a continuing build-up, a report by the New York Times of the end. No, sorry, not the build. This is the destruction of military equipment. We talked about it yesterday. Multiple Black Hawk helicopters, a significant number of Black Hawk helicopters in Jordan were damaged. And I had a specialist on the show earlier today, a former Navy SEAL, explaining to me when it says one of these aircraft is damaged, it takes a long time to repair those aircraft. So when you have Black Hawk helicopters damaged, as per the New York Times report, in Jordan in the last few days, or you have the fighter jets, the F-15.
Oh, just a question though. So they destroy some Black Hawks. They're completely irrelevant to the air war with Iran. I mean, they're in Jordan.
Yeah. They're probably just used for the Strait of Hormuz before the full escalation. They were striking the ships.
No, it's too damn far for them to fly. Just
Not
look
from
up what
Jordan. I think they were deployed closer to the Strait of
look
Hormuz because I
look
remember those
look
ships.
look up the range of a Black Hawk. Look it up,
Oh,
and then say how far is it from Jordan to Bahrain, or from Jordan to Dubai.
so I think what I meant is they didn't use, so from Jordan they would have, because I know that there were ships that were struck by Hellfire missiles during the blockade. So the way the Americans enforced the blockade, you'd get all these reports and videos of the hold on, there was a Black Hawk helicopter shot down in the Strait of Hormuz as well. Do you remember? And they had to rescue the pilot.
No, that was an Apache helicopter.
Oh, okay. So is it the Apache that fires the Hellfire missiles?
I think so.
Okay, so they destroyed. Yes, Apache. You're right. So it's not the Black Hawk. So it's the Apache that I'm referring to, not Black Hawk. So they destroyed the damaged. It will take a long time to repair. They also destroyed an F-15 Strike Eagle in the last few days, according to the Wall Street Journal, in Jordan as well, and damaged several other fighter jets and drones in their attacks. So in the last few days, there's been a lot of damage, and I was going through it with a guest in the morning. If you look at all these different satellite images, that came out in the last 24, 48 hours, it just shows the scale of the damage in the various bases. But we've had multiple reports of the various American aircraft that were destroyed. Meanwhile, there's a pretty significant military buildup as well. Within the last few days, according to CENTCOM's, I think it's according to CENTCOM directly, they said they've deployed, I don't know what okay, that's Faytux. Faytux reports this. They've deployed 15 F-35s, 12 F-15s, 12 F-16s, 12 F-16s as well. So 24 F-16s, 12 F-15s, and 15 F-35s. And according to the New York...
And where are they basing them?
They moved them from... Yeah, they didn't say where they moved them to. I know that the refueling aircraft are all based in... probably in Tel Aviv, in Israel, because we've seen the report of over 100 aircraft coming to Israel. Israel made an announcement. All these reports came out of Israel. So I'm assuming, so Walla reports that there's 100 aerial refueling tankers coming into Israel by the US as part of the military buildup, as well as F-35s and F-15s. So I'm assuming they'd also be going to Israel along with everything else. And there was a strike today. There was a strike today. This one you'd like. You know how you were telling me about how the buildup of the aircraft in Israel would lead to the Iranians firing at Israel, dragging Israel into the war, firing at these bases. Well, they fired at a base. I wish I saved that. I'll try to find it. They fired at an airport, a military airport, or an airport in Jordan on the border with Israel.
Yeah, near Aqaba in the south. Yes.
Yeah. So they struck that one, and that was only about 9 miles, I think, if I'm not mistaken, from an Israeli base that has American refueling tankers there. And I think they started moving them out. So Israeli media started interpreting that as a warning to Israel, the strike on that base in Jordan.
Yeah. By the way, I just checked the mileage. So your typical combat radius for a Black Hawk is 368 miles. So basically, it means you can fly one direction about 180 miles, then you're not 180 miles coming back. And to refuel, most of the Black Hawks, my understanding, can't be refueled from air. You have to land on the ground and refuel them. The distance from Jordan to Dubai, 1,200 miles. So basically, those Black Hawks can't even get there. That's if the Black Hawks were forward deployed to like Al Udeid or Al Dhafra, then maybe they could do something in the Gulf. But so destroying them, that's just for moving troops locally in the vicinity.
Yeah, not as significant as damaging their.
Who was your former Navy SEAL?
He was on the show for the first time, and he was, funny enough, I thought you watched it because he started talking about how much bigger Qasem Island is from Okinawa. and he started going through how
really?
a ground operation. Yeah, we literally had the whole discussion about it. We spent about 20 minutes. He spent 20 minutes making the comparison to a ground operation in Iran, how that compared to what happened in the Japanese invasion on these islands. And he used the same example, mentioned numbers like you did, and talked about how much bigger Kashmir Island is. So I'm like, oh, Larry must have seen the interview, but turns out to be a coincidence.
I didn't. So I'll just say, great minds think alike.
Oh, you would have loved that interview. He definitely said a lot of the same things. Oh, he mentioned our interview. He's watched our interview a few times, probably watching this one. Matt Bracken, great guy. First time on the show. He's pretty big on X. First time on the show. Yeah. I saw his tweets. I actually saw his tweets pop up. He was making some good tweets. And then I asked him to come on the show, and the audience loved him.
Yeah, he's an FNG. It's an effing new guy. See, my generation of SEALs, my friends, they go back to the 1980s. So he could say we're a bunch of OFGs, old effing guys.
So on that strike on the Jordanian, I was trying to find the video with an image that shows how close it is to the Israeli base. I still want to find it because I think you'll find it interesting. But even the debris from that strike, the debris from that strike was intercepted by Israel. So people got worried, is Israel being dragged into the war? But this was an attack on the Jordanian base that we just talked about. So so Iran could be sending a warning right now to Israel that they could involve it in the war. But on that point, the Israeli media has been talking a lot about this. So Israel Hayom says, Israeli officials said Netanyahu's planned trip to the US next week to attend Lindsey Graham's funeral is at risk of being cancelled due to regional security tensions. Officials also expressed concern that Iran could target senior Israeli figures beyond Netanyahu, saying that there's an enormous number of people who are under threat. So that's in line with what we talked about 2 days ago. Remember how Netanyahu was trying to increase his security?
Right.
This one's, Israeli media is talking about the increased security threat for Israeli leaders.
Yeah. And also remember today, I guess they're supposed to interview Bibi on like Fox News Sunday, and he bailed on that for some reason. So there's something going on.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's more the split between Trump and Netanyahu. I think there's a big power struggle happening there, or could be something completely different. Maybe they're just going quiet before some sort of escalation. And there's a lot of talk about escalation, by the way, especially in the last few hours. I'll talk about in a second. But just on the Israel front, according to I-24, Israel will only join the current cycle of US-Iran attacks if Israel believes Iran is about to attack, so preemptively, which means anytime. They could just make it up. Or if Trump formally requests Israel's participation. Channel 14 reports Israeli officials assess that Iran has been debating in recent days whether to launch an attack against Israel, but they believe no final decision has been made. A separate Israeli assessment suggests the US could ask Israel to join the military campaign against Iran if Iran does not directly attack Israeli territory. So there's a possibility that even if Iran doesn't attack Israel, Trump may request Israel to help. Ynet says the following: at this stage, the security establishment does not detect any Iranian intention or willingness to launch an attack against Israel in the immediate future. And this is the last one, is the Hebrew media says the Iranian attack on Aqaba is intended, so the Jordanian base in the south and near the border with Israel, is intended as a warning to Israel. And lastly, Israeli Katz, Defense Minister Katz said, quote, "We have announced that if Iran fires missiles at Israel, we will strike it with force without any dependence or conditions." So this is Israel making it clear they'll attack without limitations, without any conditions, if Iran attacks them. And then multiple reports saying Iran's considering attacking Israel, but haven't decided to do so, but they've talked about it. And that Israel may attack even preemptively or if Trump requests. A bit all over the place, but conclusion is that there's no immediate plans for Israel to attack Iran. And according to Israeli media, there's no immediate plans for Iran to attack Israel either.
Well, it's just a function of how long before Iran attacks it for having all those U.S. air refuelers there. Not to mention now, as you pointed out, they're also bringing in these F-35s and F-16s. So it's again, it's just a matter of time before they get hit.
Yeah. Do you think Israel will be joining this war?
Yes. And then in about a week and a half, they'll be begging to get out of it. Just as has happened because this go around, back during the 12-day war in June of 2025, Israel was, they were begging the United States after 12 days, okay, get this stopped. And then the Iranian missiles were not as accurate as they are now. They're much more accurate as the West has conceded. Yeah, they're pretty damn accurate. So the last thing they want to get involved with is, becoming another big target. But that's where they're headed.
Yeah. Well, the U.S. Embassy in Jordan, in Amman, did put out a security alert. That's actually an interesting development. Due to a specific incredible threat, Jordanian authorities evacuated the international airport and seaport in Aqaba. We strongly advise all Americans to refrain from traveling to either the airport or seaport. Continue to follow all Jordanian authorities' security directives. U.S. Embassy in Amman continues to advise all Americans to avoid travel to military bases in Jordan. Funny enough, after that warning came in from the U.S., Jordanian government spokesperson said there was no decision to evacuate the international airport or the seaport, contradicting the alert from the U.S. Embassy. That's a bit bizarre. The U.S. Embassy asked for these two locations to be evacuated, said they're being evacuated, and then the Jordanian government said they haven't heard anything about it, and they're not evacuating. Is it common to get mixed messages like this? Is the Americans, do you think they're acting on different intel that the Jordanians don't have?
Well, that's possible. It wouldn't be the first time. But the other thing you're looking at here is they were talking more about that airport down south, and I don't think Iran's going to attack the international airport as long as the international airport continues to not host U.S. combat aircraft or air refueling aircraft.
Yeah. I don't know about the various airports in Jordan, but that one in the south was actually attacked, and the Israelis are seeing it as a warning. So more reports on why things the last 24 hours have been pretty worrying. Washington has informed Tel Aviv that the U.S. intends to escalate military action against Iran in the next few days, according to Channel 11, citing U.S. and Israeli officials, number one. So that's on top of the military buildup. Report that Washington told Israel that they plan to escalate. Number two, according to Khan News, a lot of it is Israeli media. Israeli media's off the hook today. The U.S. informed Israel that it intends to escalate its strikes in the coming days. They also say that they've discussed the possibility that Iran could decide to. Okay, this is interesting. They've also discussed Israel and U.S. officials discussed the possibility that Iran could decide to break all the rules and launch attacks against Israel, a move that would likely trigger an Israeli military response against Iran. Despite the scenario at this stage, the U.S. wants to keep Israel out of the current cycle of escalation. So according to Khan News, the U.S. warned Israel that they expect or they're worried, or there's a possibility that Iran would do what you said they would do, and that is strike Israel. Because obviously we've seen all the aircraft, the American aircraft, for obvious reasons, because all the Gulf is getting struck on a daily basis. They're moving a significant amount of them to Israel. And they see, this is interesting, because the Americans see Israel as a place that is safe for their aircraft, because they're betting on the fact that Iran won't strike it. And then obviously Iran may escalate and strike that. The same way they were betting on Iran not striking desalination plants, and Iran did that in the last couple of days.
No, I wouldn't take that bet. Iran will be attacking Israeli military bases that are hosting U.S. combat aircraft, particularly if the United States increases its attacks on Iran, which they're threatening to do. This is the whole diplomatic effort that's taking place behind the scenes with Pakistan, China, Russia. It's fallen apart. I think my understanding is Mustafa Khamenei has said, we're not returning to the MOU, not in its current form. If we go back, there's going to have to be some major concessions by the United States up front. And at this point, Trump's not willing to make those concessions. He's still indulging his military fantasy that he can bring Iran to their knees and have them begging for mercy. But as we've seen, the United States right now is starting to drive U.S. aircraft out of Jordan. So you got to say, where can they base their aircraft that the aircraft will be safe? Prince Saud Air Base in Saudi Arabia? No. Al Dhafra in UAE? No. Al Udeid? No. Al Isa, Bahrain? Oh, absolutely not. Ali Salman up in Kuwait? No. So it's not like the U.S. has a variety of alternatives they can fall back on. So now they fall back into Israel. And notice, even Israel now, I think they recognize that the accuracy of the Iranian missiles has dramatically increased, thanks in large measure to the Chinese Beidou system. And that's why they were pressing to get your planes out of Ben Gurion, because Ben Gurion's really Israel's only link to the outside world as far as civilian passenger aircraft goes. So, and I think all this writing and reaction you're seeing in the Israeli press, what does that tell you? That they're calm and confident? Oh yeah, we got this in hand? Or are they sort of, nervous in the service? I would suggest it's the latter.
The Trump last piece of news that came out that indicates escalation on the Western side. Trump has sent a message that's 3 hours ago, 3 hours ago. Again, according to Israeli media, most of it today, the military buildup is reported a lot by the American media, but all the warnings by Trump is coming from Israeli media. So take it as you wish. Trump has sent a message to the Gulf states stating that if a ceasefire is not reached this week, and this weekend's just ended, unless they mean next week, they must prepare for an escalation. But that was hours and hours ago. So that was yesterday, technically, end of Sunday. The Gulf must prepare for escalation. Now, it's, I was speaking to Aaron David Miller, the negotiator, and I asked a question. There was no good answer. Like he can't answer it. It's a difficult one. But when you see all these things, including the military buildup, can you tell whether that's being used as a bluff to pressure the other side in negotiations to get concessions, or whether it's a genuine buildup for military action? Is there a way to tell? And also, well, he made a point in his answer. He said there's no way to tell, but we know that this military buildup doesn't work against Iran. They've tried it time and time again. These threats and these escalations just don't work. So therefore, the only other interpretation is that it's a military buildup for plans to attack again, to escalate.
Yeah. No, I agree. I agree with him on that. That this bill, Trump's they're serious about the buildup. It's real. I know that those crisis action teams have been extremely active in the last 48 hours. So that means they're issuing orders and deployment orders, and they have to worry about berthing and where people are going to be housed, and they got a whole number of logistics requirements to go out. And if they're all huddling up in Israel's going to be next on the target list.
Yeah. So we've got an Iranian MP that said something that's a way out there. I'm not sure how much of it is serious, how much of it is just to rally the troops or get attention. Israeli principalist MP Abbas Papizadeh claimed that the U.S. plans to seize control of the Strait of Hormuz or whatever that means, before launching a ground offensive against Iran, warning that recent U.S. strikes on southern infrastructure are intended to prepare the battlefield for a wider military campaign. But he takes it a step further. He goes a bit too far. Abbas alleged that Washington would secure oil shipments to the U.S. and its allies before opening a land assault from the south, west, and east. He urged the rapid deployment of volunteer besieged forces across Iran's southern provinces and called for increased military preparedness, arguing that the U.S. attacks on transport infrastructure indicate a shift towards a potential ground operation. Now, he said the ground operation from the south, east, and west, which would only involve the Baluchis on the east and the Kurds on the west, which obviously are very small forces. I don't expect anything from either. but there's especially not the Baluchis. But what do you make of that statement, of that warning by Abbas, the MP, the Iranian MP?
Yep, he's not a military guy, so
Yeah.
I don't. He's not really qualified to comment on it. What he's saying is nonsensical. Okay, so U.S. is going to conduct a ground operation. All right. Where are the troops being assembled? Do we have any evidence that you got a buildup of, say, 50,000, 100,000 troops? And let's remember, if you're going to bring in 100,000 U.S. Army personnel for a ground operation, that's 25% of the existing force, almost. Enormous number. But again, the logistics required to move that many people, then to get them based, and then to be in a secure location where they're not going to get shellacked with these, intermediate range ballistic missiles. I'd just like someone to, those who are saying this, okay, explain it to me. Show me what the plan is. And I don't care about the plan of attack. Just show me where you can get the personnel, how are you going to supply them, and how are you going to sustain them once they're deployed? And moreover, how are you going to deploy them? How are you going to get them onto target?
And what do you make of the East and West means Baluchis and Kurds? Is there any risk? We see the Kurds getting struck every day. Is there a potential that the Kurds or the Baluchis can get involved? Maybe talking about the Kurds, there's a peace story that came out today that Turkey, according to Khan News Israel, Turkey threatened to provide air support to Iran if Kurdish forces entered the country as part of Mossad's ground operation. So the Mossad were working with the Kurds to get a ground operation, and Turkey threatened to provide air support to Iran if that happened. Israeli officials say that when Trump was referring to when he claimed that Turkey had been on the verge of becoming involved in the fighting in Iran, this is what what Trump was referring to, that possibility that the Turks threatened against.
Yeah. I mean, look, the Kurds and Baluchis, they'll create insurgent forces, and that will require a counterinsurgency response, but they're not going to threaten the stability of the Iranian regime, the Iranian government. So it's just going to get a bunch of Baluch and Kurds killed.
How much control do you think the Pakistanis have over the Baluchis on their territory?
Well, they don't. The Baluchis are a problem for the Paks as well. Yeah. So that's where you've had both Iran and Pakistan cooperate in both cross-border operations and attacking, the Baluchis when they see them starting to build up. So this is just desperate Westerners trying to figure out how to get more locals killed. We don't care. Kill a Baluch, kill a Kurd. Yeah, it's no sweat off our nose. I mean, it's a very cynical, evil way to look at it, but that's how they look at it.